Morning, my friends at the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. My name's Jenny McReady, and I join you here from my home office in Lakewood, Colorado, near where I serve as the intern minister at Jefferson Unitarian Church in Bolton, Colorado. I am delighted and blessed to join you all for worship a second Sunday in a row as we continue our social distancing, and I'm here safe from COVID-19. I'm so glad that we have the technology to make this virtual connection. This morning, let us come together to renew our spirits and remember who we are as people of faith. If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to light it with me and celebrate the blessing of our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition and our spiritual community. Together, let us create some space for worship with the words of Katie Gelfand, a lifetime UU and a director of religious education. Katie writes, "The end is the beginning." We call forth the life of our faith by igniting our chalice. This spark of new beginnings invites us into a sacred space to reflect on where we have been, where we are going. Even knowing that this particular flame will intentionally end with our ritual extinguishing, we fear not its end, for we know with brave hearts that from every ending in our lives, we are sent forth to make a new beginning.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, shatter us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, shatter us glowing, shatter beauty, vision, and flame. Rise up, O flame, shatter life's beauty, shatter life's beauty, vision, and joy.
Greetings and welcome to the online worship services of the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. My name is Sue Watts and I'm a worship associate with the church. Our minister, the Reverend John Cullinan, is taking a brief respite from his sermon duties. It is our hope that during this time of upheaval and uncertainty that you're hanging in there with courage and strength, with patience, and hopefully with a bit of humor. As Unitarian Universalists, we look to the high places of the world for sources of inspiration while keeping our feet firmly planted on the ground as we seek to build communities of greater justice and compassion. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are in your journey, you're welcome here. If you're watching the Sunday service on Sunday morning, we invite you to join our Zoom coffee hour that will be held at 11 o'clock following this service. For other opportunities to connect throughout the week, you could check out our website, our Facebook page, or email announcements. Whether you are visiting us for the first time or have been part of this congregation for years, may this time we set apart from our everyday concerns help us to see the holy in ourselves, in others, and the world around us. You've already met Jenny McReady, our special speaker for the day. She is the intern minister of the Jefferson Unitarian Church in Golden, Colorado. She'll be entering her final year of seminary at the Meadville Lombard Theological School and is a Colorado native. She's also the mother of 5 children aged 7 through 20. Her previous incarnations include horse carriage driver, legal assistant, and an eco-villager. She brings her passions for social justice and environmentally sustainable living to our pulpit today. Jenny, we're glad you're here. We will begin with a moment of shared silence. From the events of our lives come the songs of our hearts. Some are heart songs of grief and sorrow, some of joy and hope. Whether spoken aloud, written down, whispered into the wind, or held in the silence of our heart, all are a precious part of our lives and the journey that we share. So let us take a moment now as 2 small candles burn in our sanctuary to bring to our minds and hearts whatever joys and sorrows we carry with us this day. In the midst of national trauma and personal struggles, anxiety, anger, fear, grief are all too real. And yet, a hawk over the canyon, the glimpse of a comet or moonlight through the pines, the warmth of a cup of tea shared with a friend, even over Zoom. These can all remind us that love and beauty are as real as pain and loss. Sources of healing and wholeness abound, and there is a love that will never let us go.
Please join me in prayer. Spirit of the prairie and the desert, the mountains and the rivers, the wild animals and insects, and all of our ancestors. As we come together this morning, let us remember our place in the web of life. As we struggle to accept the suffering and hurting of the world, let us remember that we have a sacred place here, a sacred calling. May we listen deeply to others and to our own inner wisdom as we seek to live lives of compassion and bring healing to the world. Spirit of mystery that weaves us all together with billions of the entire natural world, with the stars and the planets. May we find joy in the beauty to feed us in our journey towards health and wholeness and creating a new world where love and justice are the law of the land. Blessed be and may it.
I'd like to share a story with you today. A story about a simple little spider who did an amazing thing. You'll find versions of this story in Christian, Jewish, and Muslim traditions, and in ancient Japanese folk tales as well. In the Christian version, the baby Jesus, Mary, and Joseph are hiding from King Herod. In the Jewish version, a young David is hiding from King Saul. In the Muslim version, the Prophet Muhammad and his friend Abu Bakr are hiding in a crowd of people who want to harm them outside the city of Mecca. And in the Japanese version, the great shogun warrior, Yoritomo, is hiding from his enemies. In all these stories, though, the spider is just a spider. Once upon a time, a very important person was watching a spider weaving her web, and the very important person thought to herself,
"Why in the world did God make spiders? What good are they? They aren't beautiful or cute. They can't do tricks. They don't guard the house or make anything that humans can eat or wear. They don't sing or make interesting sounds, and those webs they're always building are just a nuisance."
And the little spider overheard her, but she didn't care. She just kept working on her web. Soon, though, the very important person was in trouble. Her enemies were out to get her. She had to run and hide. She hid in the deepest, darkest cave she could find, but still she was worried that her enemies would find her. Just then, she noticed the little spider had started building a new web at the entrance to the cave. She was afraid to shoo her away for fear that her enemies might hear, so she just stayed very quiet and watched the spider work. In no time, the cave entrance was completely covered by the web. And it was just in time, because right then the very important person's enemies came running up to the cave. But they didn't go in. The enemy of the very important person saw the web across the opening to the cave and said,
"Eek! No need to go into that cave. Look at the big spider web. It's clear that no one has been in there for a long time."
And the very important person realized something very important that day. She said,
"Wow, spiders are the best. So what if they aren't beautiful or cute, or can't do tricks or sing? So what if they can't guard the house, or make things that humans can eat or wear? The spider deserves our kindness and respect, just like all animals."
and the spider just shrugged her many little shoulders and said,
"Just doing what a normal spider does. No, but thanks for noticing."
Have you ever looked closely at a spider's web? Each individual thread is so thin and delicate, you can barely see it. But the web itself is incredibly strong, and this great strong web is made by just one little spider, just doing what spiders do best. What the very important person in our story came to understand is that every being is worthy of respect and kindness. Every being has a precious life to live. Even the littlest spider can save the life of a very important person. Even the littlest spider is very important too.
Bow time. Want to see it?
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. Oh, there is more love somewhere. Oh, there is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
For this morning's reading, I wanted to share with you the short and quite amazing story of Angela King. Angela King was a neo-Nazi in her home state of Florida for 8 years. In 1998, she was convicted of a hate crime and spent 3 years in federal prison. That's where her life changed. She's now the deputy director of Life After Hate, a group that helps people leave violent far-right organizations. Angela shares these words. It was not the institution of prison that changed me. It was the very real human experiences I had with women who were from around the world, from different cultures, races, ethnicities. And what really made the greatest impact on me was knowing that I was there in jail for a hate crime with women who still treated me with kindness and compassion. It completely disarmed me. I was used to violence and aggression and anger. You know, being treated kindly, especially by human beings I felt I least deserved it from, it was really a gift. They rehumanized me. And when that happened, I was able to make that change and stop dehumanizing others. So last week we reflected on the upset and chaos of disruption and how, if we're mindful, it can lead us into new ways of thinking and being. Dust is settled. We explored what possibilities might be born from new perspectives that come out of a major disruption. This is a time when things are breaking down, but it can also be an opportunity to build something stronger and better. This week I'm thinking about how we can come together, not just within our liberal religious community, but everybody, building something stronger and better. I know that's bold, but I believe in bold visions for possibilities. I'm wondering, can we collaborate and agree on what a new world should look like? People have very different ideas of what a new world might look like. Some people think that less immigrants in this country would make it stronger and better. Some people might think we should do away with social safety nets and poor people should lift themselves up by their bootstraps. Others of us may have a vision for a more gentle world, one where we welcome strangers to our door and we pool our resources to help those in need. Opinions are pretty opposite, and sometimes finding the common ground seems a little hopeless. Sometimes we get carried away with the idea that we know the answers, and we forget to listen to where others are coming from and what makes them tick. Now, I am not suggesting that we compromise on our core values. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith teaches us to serve others and to value each person no matter what their circumstances or ethnicity or sexuality or gender identity. These values are non-negotiable because they are rooted in love. We can't force everybody to agree with those values. In fact, lately, some of us have been startled to see that there are many people who don't actually believe that we should be kind to each other, take care of one another. These are things I learned on Sesame Street when I was 3 years old, but they are not to be taken for granted. We live in a culture that worships a fierce independence, a dog eat dog, I got mine, too bad for you, toxic masculinity, whiteness. All we have to do is look at movies and see which makes the most money, and we get a little window into our American soul. There is some sickness in our culture. There's an idolizing of greed and selfishness. And sometimes this kind of mainstream culture shows up in the opinions of our beloved family members or our friends that we share other things in common with. Now, if somebody is abusive or hurtful towards us, it's often appropriate to cut ties. But I'm talking about these differences of opinions that may feel harmful to others. We need to love and respect ourselves enough not to let other people harm us. But short of abuse and that harm, when people promote ideas that harm others, our faith calls us to look a little bit deeper to find our shared humanity. When I was a little girl in Catholic school, I had a teacher who told us to find the Jesus in everyone. Now, I frame that idea a little differently now because my theology has changed, but the idea that we look for the divine in each other, the spark of goodness that each of us was born with, that has been something that I've carried with me and has served me well for my 49 years. Each of us was born an innocent little baby, a sacred child of the universe. Then a lot of stuff happens, right? That baby might be somebody who grows up to keep their heart open, to be generous, to be resilient, or that baby may learn to cope with their suffering by developing some harmful ideas about who they are and how to be in the world. I believe it's a deep listening to those stories. Listening for shared values is the way forward to healing divisions and visualizing and building that better world. In our reading, we heard the words of Angela King, the white supremacist, perpetrator of a hate crime, who had a change of heart after being treated with kindness by women in prison. Angela knew suffering in this world, and she clung to her white privilege and some deeply flawed and harmful ideas. She became a dangerous human being, one whose ignorance and hateful beliefs caused harm to innocent people. There are some people that cause so much destruction and suffering, it's hard to see their humanity. And I know this is a challenging part of Unitarian Universalism. Our faith teaches us that Angela still had inherent worth and dignity. Her belief system had shaped her experiences, and when she had different experiences, she was able to change her beliefs. I don't think it's an accident that what got through to her heart was kindness. Being treated as a human being by people she hated gave her a chance at redemption. Notice she used the word rehumanized in our reading. I like that word, rehumanized, because sometimes all of us lose our compassion and we operate from false narratives. Most of us don't join hate groups, but all of us cause harm by the impact of our words and actions. We are all guilty of microaggressions, and each of us could use some rehumanizing now and again. Of course, it is imperative, I say it again, that we don't allow people to cause harm. I am not talking about letting people off the hook. Harm should be stopped whenever it is in progress. And we need to know how to protect ourselves and others from ignorant and hateful actions. But at the same time, and it's important that we hold people accountable for their actions, whether they're knowingly causing harm or not. But at the same time, we can be merciful, passionate, forgiving, and kind, even as we hold ourselves and others 100% accountable. People don't get a free pass because we see the pain and struggle they've endured, and we don't get a free pass. Holding people accountable affirms their inherent worth and dignity. I remember seeing a mother dog in the shelter with a dozen little puppies. She was so stressed, so whenever she got frightened, she'd turn on her puppies and viciously attack them. It was awful. That dog was a stark example of a being that wasn't inherently bad or evil, but she was responding to her terror, her experiences, and her environment. Now, of course, we stopped the mama dog from attacking the puppies. But most of us would have compassion for that dog whose behavior was so warped by fear. And that translates into our human experiences as well. We can hold compassion for people like Angela King. We can hold compassion for our relatives and friends and politicians who hold vastly different worldviews from ours. There's a psychologist I really like. His name is Dr. Stephen Stasny, and he created a term called binocular vision. He uses it to describe the ability to hold another person's perspective at the same time as our own. Now, does that mean we necessarily agree with that perspective? Heck no. No way. Not necessarily. But being able to listen for shared values and looking for goodness in a person creates an inroad for understanding. My high school best friend and I have very different theologies, and our politics used to be polar opposite. Lately, we've been finding that we share some core values. We care for the people on the margins. These are the values that she learns at her fundamentalist Christian church, and we learn in our Unitarian Universalist faith. We care for the people in the margins. We treat others with kindness and respect. We're to be generous and loving. So this friend and I have found some common ground. We both want to do the right thing, though we often disagree on what the right thing is. But these are important building blocks in relationships. I could have dumped her as my friend, but then I would have reinforced the divisions and prejudices, and I wouldn't have gotten to see her ability to hold others in compassion. The ability to hold others in compassion, the way the other women in prison did for Angela King, holds the power to change minds and hearts. Our faith is built on compassion, and compassion for others is a theology that will not let us down. Sometimes we get lost in the big picture of what needs to change and how to do it, and we forget that that big picture is made up of people, each of us a world unto ourselves. Humans are not simple creatures. We are a complex mix of nature and nurture, of life experience and personality. And some people would even say what we've come to the planet with. Mystery, we don't know. But we are each a unique mix of our family story, our passions, our paradigms. Most of us have some trauma that we've collected in the course of our lives, and all of this together shapes our perspective. We are shaped by our social location, our gender, our wealth or poverty, our culture, our age, and our deeply held subconscious beliefs. We all have gaps in understanding ourselves or the world, and those gaps can cause harm to others. So let's be gentle on ourselves, and let's carry that generous spirit that we cultivate, forgiveness towards ourselves for our blind spots. Let's carry that into the world. So keep your boundaries, protect the marginalized, and don't compromise on your core values. But can we do it with a generous heart? Adrienne Marie Brown, in her book Emergent Strategy, writes, "We are socialized to see what is wrong, missing, off, tear down the ideas of others and uplift our own. To a certain degree, our entire future may depend on learning to listen. Listen without assumptions or defenses." Talking about binocular vision. She reminds us that shaming and blaming are not good technology for getting people to open their minds and listen to their own hearts. The women in prison had stigmatized and ostracized Angela King for her racist beliefs. She wouldn't have had her conversion experience. Her ignorance would be causing more harm and passed down to her children. It is our shared humanity that will save the human race. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, in one of his most famous sermons called Loving Your Enemies, preached this. He said, "Turning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Lately, we've been seeing good people with good hearts and harmful beliefs moving closer towards compassion. We've seen how the horrific tragedy of George Floyd's death has touched people's humanity and opened their minds towards the Black Lives Matter movement. We see that when people realize our shared humanity, it's those human connections, it's that compassion that facilitates the first step towards eradicating homophobia, transphobia, racism, sexism. A big leap of heart to be generous towards people whose ideas and philosophies are harmful to others. But my kids and I like to quote Michelle Obama because she says, "When they go low, we go high." We keep refocusing our thoughts, our words, our actions on love, not fear. People learn the most when they feel safe. They feel supported. and they feel loved. Remember, accountability can still happen in an environment of safety, support, and love. It's our love that's going to carry us through. And I don't mean that as an empty platitude. I really mean it. Our love for the world and for each other is our redemption. This is the call of our Unitarian Universalist faith, and it is our highest aspiration. Let them know us by our love and humanity, because that is where our power lies. Blessed be, and may it please.
Here in this religious community, we receive gifts that nurture our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. Our offering is an opportunity to share some of those gifts with the wider world. Even though we're unable to meet in person, we continue to take online donations for our community partners. During the month of August, we invite you to make a donation to the Los Alamos Family Council. The council provides emotional and social well-being through education, prevention, and counseling. They serve the Los Alamos County through their counseling center and 2 youth activity centers. To make an online donation, please use the link that you can find in the service notes below or on your screen. You can find more information there as well. Thank you for your generosity. May what you give bring you joy.
Our closing words today are from the words of Amy Zucker Morgenstern. In every person we meet, especially those who cause us discomfort, we find an opportunity for us to grow, to learn, to go further along the path to transformation that is our purpose in life. Every single one is our teacher. May the next week bring you such moments of meeting that help you become the person you want to be. And may you welcome those moments with joy. Blessed be and may it be so. Thank you, Los Alamos, for joining me in worship this morning. Go into your week and make those connections with everybody.